The silver spaceship landed in the large field outside the city. It made no sound as it touched the ground. Crowds watched from behind barriers set up by the military. This was the third alien ship to visit Earth this month, but people still found it exciting. Jack Bennett stood near the front of the crowd. As a zoologist who worked with wild animals, he had been asked to join the welcome team. Next to him stood Susan Miller, a veterinarian who worked at his wildlife center. "Do you think they'll be different from the others?" Susan asked, watching. The ship's door slowly opened. "Every alien species we've met has been surprised by something about Earth," Jack replied. "I wonder what will shock these ones." 4 tall figures walked down the ramp. They had blue-gray skin and large eyes that blinked sideways. The tallest one stepped forward and raised a hand in greeting. "I am Zexitora, diplomat of the Galactic Alliance. We come in peace and friendship." The Earth officials welcomed them formally. Jack noticed one of the aliens looking around with great interest. This alien carried many devices and kept scanning the trees and grass around them. After the welcome ceremony, Jack was introduced to the curious alien. "This is Krival, our chief xenobiologist," Zexitora explained. "He studies life forms on different planets." Krival bowed slightly. "Your planet has amazing diversity. So many different creatures living together. I'd be happy to show you our wildlife center," Jack offered. "We work with many species there." The aliens agreed to visit the next day. Jack spent the evening making sure everything at the center looked its best. The Wildlife Rehabilitation Center housed injured animals until they could return to the wild. Some animals stayed permanently if they couldn't survive on their own. When the aliens arrived, Jack led them through the building. Krival scanned everything with his devices while Zexitora asked many questions. "And these creatures? They are kept in these small spaces?" Zexitora asked, looking at a red-tailed hawk in a large flight cage. "Only until they heal," Jack explained. "This hawk had a broken wing. In 2 weeks, we'll release her back to the forest." The aliens looked at each other with expressions Jack couldn't read. Things became more complicated when they reached the education area. Here, the center kept some permanently injured animals that couldn't survive in the wild. These animals helped teach people about wildlife. "This wolf was found as a baby after hunters killed her mother," Susan explained, pointing to a gray wolf that wagged its tail when it saw her. "She's too friendly with humans now to be released." Zexitora stepped back. "You keep predators as well? Creatures with sharp teeth that could harm you?" "Many animals are dangerous in some way," Jack said, "but with proper care and understanding we can live peacefully with them." The real shock came when they reached Jack's office. A small cat was sleeping on his desk, and another was perched on a bookshelf. "What are these small creatures doing in your workspace?" Krival asked, scanning them quickly. "Those are my cats, Pepper and Mittens. They live with me. They're pets." "Pets?" Zexitora repeated the word slowly. "This word is not in our translator." "Companions. Animals that live with humans by choice, for friendship," Susan tried to explain. The aliens seemed truly disturbed now. They spoke quickly to each other in their own language. "You are saying that you take wild animals into your sleeping spaces? You keep predators in your homes?" Krival's voice rose slightly. Before Jack could answer, they heard a small cry from the next room. "Excuse me," he said, walking to the small nursery where they kept baby animals. He returned holding a tiny wolf pup, only 2 weeks old, drinking from a bottle Jack held. The pup's eyes were barely open. Zexitora stepped back in alarm. "You are feeding the infant of a predator species with your hands? Her mother was killed by a car. We're raising her until she's old enough to join our education program," Jack explained, gently wiping milk from the pup's mouth. The aliens stared in what seemed like horror. Jack realized this might be the first of many cultural misunderstandings between humans and their new galactic neighbors. The next day, a larger group of aliens arrived at Jack's wildlife center. Zexitora had brought Quensar, an alien who studied different cultures. They also brought recording devices and many scientific tools. "We must understand this practice of keeping animals," Zexitora announced. "The Galactic Council is very concerned. Jack called his friend Lisa Dawson, a wildlife officer who could help explain things better. While they waited for her, Quensar interviewed Jack. "How long have humans been capturing animals to live in their homes?" the alien asked. "We don't capture them," Jack tried to explain. "Most pets are born around humans. Dogs and cats have lived with us for thousands of years. They chose to be with us as much as we chose them." The aliens looked doubtful. Krival was scanning the cats again. "These small predators show no fear of you. Have you removed their natural instincts?" he asked. "No, they still hunt mice sometimes. But they're domesticated. Over many generations they've adapted to living with humans," Susan explained. Lisa arrived with photos showing the history of domestication. "Look at wolves and dogs. Over time, wolves that were friendly to humans got more food. Their puppies were friendlier. After thousands of years, we got dogs." The aliens studied the pictures but still seemed troubled. "Perhaps we should see more examples," Quensar suggested. "In different settings." Jack called his neighbor Frank Moore, who lived nearby. Frank had 3 rescue dogs he had saved from bad situations. When they arrived at Frank's house, the dogs barked excitedly. The aliens moved closer together, looking nervous. "It's okay," Frank said, opening the door. "They're just saying hello." The 3 dogs, a golden retriever, a collie mix, and a small terrier, rushed out to greet the visitors. The aliens stepped back quickly, but Jack knelt down to pet the dogs. "These are some of the friendliest animals you'll meet," Jack said. "Frank rescued them from bad situations." "Rescued?" Zextora asked. "They were captured by other humans?" Frank sighed. "Some people are cruel to animals. I take in dogs that have been abandoned or mistreated and give them a good home." The aliens followed Frank inside, still watching the dogs carefully. When Frank sat on his couch, all 3 dogs jumped up beside him, and one put its head on his lap. "You allow them on your furniture?" Krival asked in surprise. "Of course. They're family," Frank replied, scratching behind the retriever's ears. Quensar recorded everything, looking confused. "On our worlds, we would never allow wild creatures in our living spaces. It would be considered dangerous and unclean." "But they're not wild," Susan explained. "These animals have been raised around humans their whole lives." To prove the point, Frank showed them some simple commands. The dogs sat, stayed, and offered their paws when asked. "They understand your communication," Zextora noted with surprise. "And I understand theirs," Frank said. "When Max brings me his leash, I know he wants a walk. When Daisy paws at her bowl, she's hungry." That evening, the aliens requested to see more examples of human-animal relationships. Jack arranged visits to a cat shelter, a farm with horses, and a home where children had pet rabbits. At each place, the aliens watched closely how the animals interacted with humans. They seemed most surprised that many animals approached humans willingly or even showed excitement when their owners returned. At the end of the day, a new alien arrived. Vrinath was taller than the others and wore elaborate decorations on his uniform. "I have been sent by the Galactic Council to document these practices," he announced. "The keeping of other species is highly unusual in developed civilizations." Vrinath looked at Jack's notes about the next day's visits. "A zoo? A place where you keep many species for display? This is most disturbing." Jack tried to explain about conservation and education, but Vrinath had already made up his mind. "Humans clearly do not respect the natural order," he stated. "This requires further investigation." Jack looked at Susan with worry. Their alien visitors did not understand one of humanity's oldest relationships, and now it seemed that misunderstanding could cause problems for Earth's place in the galactic community. The next morning, Jack met the aliens at the city zoo. Amber Johnson, the zoo director, waited for them at the entrance. She had prepared a special tour to show how modern zoos focused on animal welfare and conservation. "Welcome to our conservation center," Amber said with a smile. "Today you'll see how we protect endangered species and educate the public about wildlife." Vrinath looked at the families entering the zoo. "Your young humans come to stare at captured animals for entertainment?" "It's more than entertainment," Amber explained patiently. "Children learn about animals they might never see otherwise. This helps them care about protecting wild places. As they walked through the zoo, Peter Collins, an animal behaviorist, joined them. He showed how the animals had enrichment activities to keep their minds active. The elephants had puzzles that released food when solved. The otters had slides and pools to play in. We try to create environments that match their natural behaviors, Peter explained. Krival took many readings with his devices. These creatures show lower stress levels than I expected, he admitted. Vrinath remained unimpressed. In the galaxy, advanced societies do not interfere with other species. We observe from a distance only. Jack noticed that Zexatora seemed troubled by something. What's bothering you? He asked the alien diplomat. Zexatora hesitated before speaking. In our galactic history, most intelligent species evolved on planets with few predators. Our homeworld had no large predatory animals. The idea of living alongside creatures that could harm you is disturbing to us. This explained a lot to Jack. Earth's history is different. Humans evolved with many dangerous animals around us. We had to understand them to survive. They stopped at the big cat enclosure where a zookeeper was training a lion to move to different parts of its habitat. The lion followed her hand signals perfectly. This training helps us check their health without stress, Amber explained. You have tamed one of your planet's most dangerous predators, Zexatora observed. This should be impossible. Not tamed exactly, Peter clarified. We've built trust. The lion still has all its wild instincts. At lunch, they sat in the zoo's garden. Several peacocks walked freely among the tables. A small girl giggled as a peacock spread its feathers near her. Your young are not afraid, Quensar noted with surprise. Children learn which animals are dangerous and which are safe, Susan explained. We teach them respect, not fear. After lunch, they met Vrinath's assistant, a historian named Melvara. She spoke quietly as they watched children petting small animals in the zoo's contact area. Most species in the Galactic Alliance evolved past the need to interact with lesser creatures, she said. We consider it primitive to share space with non-sentient beings. Jack noticed how the children's faces lit up when they touched the soft fur of a rabbit or felt the scaly skin of a lizard. Maybe your species lost something important when you separated yourselves from other animals, he suggested. Vrinath overheard this comment. Lost something? We gained civilization. Our worlds are clean, orderly, and safe. But perhaps less connected to the web of life that exists on every planet, Jack replied. As they left the zoo, they passed the conservation center where scientists were raising endangered frog species for release back into the wild. Your species takes eggs from the wild, raises the young in captivity, and then releases them? Krival asked. Yes, it's sometimes the only way to save a species from extinction, Amber explained. Vrinath made notes on his device. Humans intervene in natural selection. This confirms my theory that they do not understand the proper order of nature. Jack was growing frustrated. The aliens seemed unable to see the compassion behind human actions. They only saw interference. As they walked back to their vehicles, Jack spotted a service dog helping a blind man navigate the sidewalk. Wait, he said to the aliens. I want you to see something important. He hoped that seeing the partnership between humans and animals might finally help the aliens understand. Jack led the aliens across the street where a man with dark glasses walked confidently with a golden retriever in a special harness. The dog stopped at the curb, waiting for traffic to clear. Excuse me, sir, Jack called. Would you mind talking with us about your service dog? The man smiled. Not at all, this is Max. He's been my eyes for 5 years now. Jack introduced the aliens, explaining they were learning about human-animal relationships. The man who introduced himself as Alan Ford was happy to demonstrate how Max helped him. Max knows dozens of commands. He keeps me safe, helps me find things, and gives me independence, Alan explained. Before Max, I needed human help for almost everything. Zexatora watched closely as the dog guided Alan around a trash can on the sidewalk. The animal understands its purpose is to help you. Max loves his job, Alan said, patting the dog's head. He gets excited when I take out his harness each morning. As they spoke, a large official vehicle pulled up. A tall alien with elaborate markings stepped out. Jack recognized the insignia of high rank. "I am Drelzak, overseer of new species integration," the alien announced. "I've received troubling reports about human practices." Vrinath hurried to speak with the new arrival, showing data on his devices. They spoke in their language while Jack and Susan waited nervously. Finally, Drelzak addressed the humans. "The Galactic Alliance has strict standards for membership. Species that subjugate other life forms rarely qualify." "Subjugate?" Susan objected. "That's not what we do." "Your evidence suggests otherwise," Drelzak replied. "You keep animals in your homes, you alter their natural behaviors, you confine them in artificial environments." Jack thought quickly. He needed to find a way to change their perspective. "Let me propose something," he said. "Give us 1 month to show you the full range of human-animal relationships. Not just visits, but real participation. If you still believe we're harming animals after that, we'll accept your judgment." Drelzak considered this. "What would this demonstration involve?" "I'll arrange for your team to experience different human-animal interactions," Jack explained. "Service animals, therapy animals, wildlife rehabilitation, and family pets. You'll see how these relationships benefit both sides." Eric Wong, a professional dog trainer who happened to be passing by, overheard the conversation and joined them. "I train service dogs for people with different disabilities," Eric said. "I could show how we select dogs with the right temperament and how they learn to help humans." "And I can introduce you to Maria Garcia," Susan added. "She runs a horse therapy program for children with special needs." Drelzak looked skeptical but finally agreed. 1 month of observation, but we will require your team to be separated to prevent coordinated deception." "That's fine," Jack said, though he worried about how the aliens would interpret things without proper context. The aliens spent the rest of the day planning their observation strategy. They decided each alien would stay with a different human, host to see various animal interactions. "Krival will reside with you," Drelzak told Jack. "Zextora will stay with the veterinarian. Quensar will observe the trainer. I will personally evaluate the therapy program." As the meeting ended, Vrinath approached Jack. "This exercise is pointless. I have seen enough to know humans are primitive in their approach to other species." "Just keep an open mind," Jack replied. "That's all I ask." Later that evening, Jack prepared his home for his alien guest. He cleaned the cat boxes and set up the spare room. His cats, Pepper and Mittens, watched curiously as he worked. The rehabilitating hawk in its special enclosure on the porch made soft sounds. "Well, this will be interesting," Jack told the animals. "Our visitor thinks you're being held against your will." As if in response, Mittens jumped onto the highest bookshelf and knocked off a stack of papers, looking directly at Jack as she did it. "Yes, clearly I'm the one in charge here," Jack said with a laugh as he picked up the papers. The doorbell rang. The challenge had begun. Krival stood stiffly in Jack's living room, scanning everything with his small device. When Mittens approached to sniff his leg, the alien stepped back quickly. "The small predator is examining me," he said with alarm. "She's just curious," Jack explained. "Cats like to know who's in their territory." "Their territory?" Krival looked confused. "I thought this was your dwelling." Jack smiled. "Cat owners often joke that we don't own cats, they own us." Over the next few days, Krival observed Jack's daily routine with the animals. He seemed surprised each morning when the cats jumped on Jack's bed to wake him. "They decide when you should wake?" he asked on the 3rd day. "Sort of," Jack admitted. "They know when they get breakfast." Meanwhile, across town, Zextora was staying with Susan at her small farm. She had several rescue animals, including chickens, 2 goats, and an old horse. The alien diplomat spent hours watching Susan care for each animal. "You provide food, shelter, and medical care, yet receive no direct benefit from most of these creatures," Zextora noted, as Susan treated a goat's injured leg. "The benefit is in the relationship itself," Susan tried to explain. "Seeing them, healthy and happy, is rewarding." At the Service Dog Training Center, Quensar worked with Eric Wong, The cultural researcher was slowly warming to the intelligent dogs in training. This canine has learned to retrieve dropped objects, open doors, and alert to sounds, Quensar noted, watching a Labrador practice with a trainer. Yet it appears happy. Dogs are social animals, Eric explained. Working with humans fulfills their need for purpose and connection. The most surprising progress came from Tulrasi, a young alien scientist who had joined the observation team. Unlike the others, Tulrasi showed genuine curiosity about Earth animals. While visiting Kelly Wright's horse therapy ranch, the young alien formed an unexpected bond with a gentle old pony named Dusty. The large animal seems to respond to emotional states, Tulrasi reported excitedly, after spending an afternoon helping children ride Dusty. When the small human was afraid, the animal moved more carefully. Kelly nodded. Horses are incredibly sensitive to feelings. That's why they're so good for therapy. 1 week into the challenge, the aliens met to share their observations. They gathered at a park where Steve Adams was demonstrating how his search and rescue dogs worked. The dogs ran through the trees, following hidden scent trails to find volunteers who had hidden themselves. Remarkable efficiency, Krival admitted, watching a border collie locate a person in less than 2 minutes. No technology could track as effectively in these conditions. Vrinath, who had been observing various animal facilities, remained unconvinced. This may be useful, but it is still exploitation. The animals have no choice. Actually, these dogs are selected because they love this work, Steve explained. A dog that doesn't enjoy searching would be a poor search dog. To demonstrate, Steve put his dog Scout on a long rest break. After 10 minutes, Scout began to whine and look eagerly at the search equipment. He wants to work, Steve said. It's like a game to him. As they talked, Jack noticed Krival watching Mittens, who had accompanied Jack to the park on a harness and leash. The cat was sunning herself on a bench, purring loudly. Your small predator appears to be making a rhythmic sound, the alien observed. That's purring. It means she's content, Jack explained. Krival seemed troubled by this information. In our studies of wild animals across the galaxy, we've never observed predator species showing contentment in the presence of other species. They are always alert, always hunting or defending. Earth animals are different, Jack suggested. Many species here have evolved to form bonds across species lines. As they prepared to leave, a sudden commotion broke out. A child had wandered away from the playground and fallen into the park's creek. Before any human could reach him, one of the search dogs plunged into the water and pulled the child to shore. The aliens watched in silence as the soaking wet dog shook itself, then gently licked the crying child's face. That, Jack said quietly, was entirely the dog's choice. 2 weeks into the challenge, Jack received an urgent call. A wildlife emergency was happening at the nature reserve outside town. A summer wildfire had started in the dry forest and was spreading quickly. Animals were fleeing the flames. We need all hands, said Diane Foster, the lead wildlife rehabilitator. Bring your alien guests too. They should see this. Jack drove quickly to the reserve with Krival. When they arrived, the scene was chaotic. Smoke filled the air. Firefighters battled the flames while wildlife workers set up emergency stations for injured animals. What is happening? Krival asked, watching humans rush toward the danger instead of away from it. Animals are trapped by the fire, Jack explained as he grabbed his emergency kit. We're going to save as many as we can. Other aliens had also arrived. Zextora stood with Susan, helping her set up treatment areas. Quensar was with Eric, who had brought his trained dogs to help find animals in the smoke. This is most irregular, Krival said as Jack handed him a carrier box for small animals. You risk your lives for non-sentient creatures? Every life has value, Jack replied simply. They worked for hours. Greg Martinez, a police officer with his K9 partner, helped locate animals hiding in dense smoke. The dog, a German shepherd named Rex, led them to rabbits, foxes, and even a young deer trapped in thick brush. Krival watched in amazement as humans carried burned animals to safety. Susan and her team treated injuries while volunteers built emergency shelters. The animals are terrified of the fire, yet they allow you to handle them, the alien noted as Jack carefully wrapped a burned fox in a special cooling blanket. Fear creates unusual alliances, Jack said. They sense we're helping. As the day continued, Jack noticed Kreval's behavior changing. The alien began handing tools to Susan without being asked. He held carriers steady as Jack placed injured animals inside them. Once he even stroked the head of a young rabbit, his long fingers gentle on its ears. Near evening, a new problem arose. The wind shifted, sending flames toward the wildlife center where they had brought the rescued animals. "We need to evacuate," Diane shouted. "Everyone grab carriers." Humans and aliens formed a line, passing animals in carriers to the waiting trucks. Jack was impressed to see Zexatora lifting heavy carriers without complaint, and Quensar carefully securing cages in vehicles. As they worked, a tall figure approached through the smoke. It was Zoltek, an elder from the Galactic Council. He looked around with obvious distaste. "What is this disorder?" he demanded. "Drelzak, explain why our observers are participating in this primitive activity." Drelzak stepped forward. "We are completing the human challenge, Elder Zoltek, observing their animal practices in all situations." Zoltek sniffed. "I see enough. Chaos, emotional decisions, risking resources for lower life forms. This confirms what the initial report suggested." Just then, a loud crack split the air. A burning tree fell, blocking the path to the last truck. 3 carriers with injured owls were still on the wrong side of the fallen tree. Without hesitation, Kreval leaped over the smoldering log. He grabbed 2 carriers while Jack grabbed the third. They hurried back over the obstacle as flames licked closer. "What are you doing?" Zoltek demanded of Kreval. "You risk yourself for birds?" Kreval's blue-gray skin was smudged with ash. "These creatures will die without help. I could not leave them." Zoltek turned to Drelzak. "This observation period is corrupting our team. I am ending it immediately." "But Elder," Tulrasi protested, "we are learning so much about interspecies cooperation." "Enough," Zoltek declared. "I have seen what I need to see. Earth will be quarantined for its primitive practices. No species that behaves this way can join the Galactic Alliance." Jack looked at Susan in alarm. Their chance to join the Galactic community was slipping away because aliens couldn't understand one of humanity's most cherished relationships. The next morning, Jack called an emergency meeting at the Wildlife Center. Despite Zoltek's decision, they still had 1 week left in their challenge. He wasn't giving up yet. "We need to show the Galactic Council the whole story," Jack told the group. "Not just our current relationships with animals, but how we got here." Ryan Peterson, an evolutionary biologist from the university, joined them. He brought ancient fossils and DNA charts. "Humans and dogs co-evolved for over 30,000 years, Ryan explained to the aliens. Early wolves approached human camps for food, scraps. The friendlier wolves got more food and had more puppies. Over time, they became dogs." Kreval studied the charts with interest. "This shows genetic changes in both species. Humans also evolved to respond to dogs?" "Yes," Ryan confirmed. "Our brains release oxytocin, a bonding chemical, when we pet dogs or look in their eyes. The same happens in dogs when they interact with us." Olivia Kim, an animal psychologist, showed videos of experiments where animals chose to be with humans even when they could leave. "This cat can go through any of these doors," she pointed out. "One leads outside, one to food, one to other cats, and one to a human. Many cats choose the human," Vrinath scoffed. "Because you control their food source." "Actually, in this experiment, food was freely available through another door," Olivia explained. As they debated, an unexpected visitor arrived. Melvara, the ancient alien who had seemed so quiet during earlier visits, asked to speak. "There is something I must share," she said softly. "My species is one of the oldest in the Alliance. We have records going back millions of years." Everyone grew quiet as she continued. "Long ago, my ancestors had relationships with other creatures on our planet, similar to what humans have with Earth animals." The other aliens looked shocked. Zoltek, who was monitoring the meeting remotely, interrupted through a communication device. This is ancient history with no relevance today, he insisted. But it does, Melvara argued. As we advanced technologically, we began to see ourselves as separate from other life. We stopped forming bonds with other species. Now our world has perfect cities, but the wild spaces are gone. Many species that once shared our planet are extinct. Jack felt hope growing. You're saying advanced civilizations don't have to abandon their connections to other species? I believe your relationship with Earth animals is not primitive, Melvara said. It shows wisdom we have forgotten. Krival stepped forward, holding up his scientific device. My readings support this. The animals living with humans show chemical patterns indicating mutual benefit. Their stress hormones are lower than in wild animals. Their lifespans are longer. Tulrasi, who had been quietly observing, added, I have noticed something remarkable. When humans interact with their animal companions, both show synchronized brain patterns. There is communication happening that our science cannot yet explain. Zoltek seemed unmoved. Emotional arguments do not change galactic standards. Just then, Susan burst into the room. You all need to see this. She led everyone outside where several of the animals rescued from the fire were recovering in outdoor enclosures. Small Fox that Krival had helped save was now awake and healing. When the alien approached the enclosure, the fox moved toward him without fear. It remembers you, Jack said quietly. This breaks all our understanding of predator behavior, Zextor admitted, watching the interaction. The council remained divided. Some aliens were beginning to understand the unique relationship humans had with Earth animals. Others, like Zoltek, saw only primitive behavior that violated galactic norms. As the day ended, Jack received news that the Grand Arbiter Zental would arrive tomorrow to make the final judgment on Earth's standing. They had one last chance to change the council's mind. We need something that will help them truly understand, Jack told Susan as they fed the recovering animals. Maybe we need to stop explaining and just show them, Susan suggested. Grand Arbiter Zental arrived early the next morning. Unlike the other aliens, Zental was small with shimmering skin that changed colors as they moved. All the other aliens bowed deeply when Zental entered the Wildlife Center. I have reviewed the reports, Zental said in a musical voice. The council is divided on whether humans understand the proper relationship between species. Jack had prepared all night for this moment. He had gathered people whose lives had been changed by their animal companions. Instead of telling you about our relationship with animals, we want to show you, Jack explained. These are real stories from real people. Joe Simmons stepped forward first. He walked with a slight limp and had a large dog by his side. I was a soldier, Joe said simply. When I came home from war, I was broken inside. I couldn't sleep. I was angry all the time. I planned to end my life. The room was silent as Joe continued. Then I met Buddy here. He was a shelter dog no one wanted because he was also afraid of loud noises. Somehow we fixed each other. When I have nightmares, he wakes me. When he's scared, I comfort him. He saved my life. Next, Nicole Carter demonstrated her research on animal communication. She showed how prairie dogs have specific alarm calls for different predators and how ravens solve complex problems. Animals are much smarter than we once thought, Nicole explained. They feel emotions, solve problems, and communicate in ways we're just beginning to understand. Several children then showed the aliens how they interacted with their pets. A small girl named Lily introduced her guinea pig, explaining how she could tell when it was happy or sad. A boy named Kevin demonstrated how his parrot could count to 10 and identify colors. Gental watched everything with great interest. Their skin shifted through colors of blue and purple as they observed. During a break, Krival approached Jack. I must show you something, the alien scientist said, leading Jack to a quiet corner. On his data device, Krival displayed readings from various animals they had encountered. I've been measuring brain activity patterns. When humans and their animal companions interact, both brains show similar patterns in certain regions. This suggests a form of communication we don't understand. Before Jack could respond, a crash came from outside. A supply shelf had fallen, and Kreval was caught under it. The alien lay on the ground, blue blood seeping from a wound. As Susan rushed to help, something unexpected happened. Jack's rehabilitating hawk, which was perched in an outdoor enclosure nearby, began making loud alarm calls. This alerted everyone to the accident immediately. Even more surprising, the small fox that Kreval had rescued from the fire squeezed through a gap in its enclosure. It hurried to the alien and began licking his hand, as if trying to comfort him. "This is remarkable," Melvara said quietly. "These animals are showing concern for a completely foreign species." After Kreval was treated, Zental gathered everyone together. The Grand Arbiter's skin now glowed with warm golden light. "I have seen enough," Zental announced. The Galactic Council believed that separation from other species was the mark of advancement. But humans have shown us a different path. Zoltek tried to object, but Zental raised a small hand. "Earth will not be quarantined. Instead, it will be welcomed into the Alliance with a special status. Humans will teach other species what they have remembered and we have forgotten, that all life on a planet is connected." 1 year later, Jack and Susan stood in their expanded wildlife center. Alien visitors now came regularly to learn about Earth's animals. Kreval had stayed behind as the first alien ambassador to Earth, with a small fox often seen sleeping near his desk. "Who would have thought," Susan said with a smile, "that our pets would be our ticket to the stars?" Jack watched as a group of alien children carefully pet a therapy dog for the first time. Their skin changed to bright, happy colors at the touch of soft fur. "Sometimes the most important lessons are the simplest ones," he replied. "We're all better when we care for each other, no matter what planet we're from."